All right, guys. So we're going to get into the show pretty quickly here. Today, we're talking about 3 lessons that I have learned in my time in strength and conditioning. And but before we get into the show, as you tune in, whether you're here live or on the replay, make sure you are dropping a comment to let me know that you're here. If you're here live, say hello. If you are coming in on the replay, drop a comment saying replay to let me know that you're here and that you're watching. Now, today we're going to be talking about 3 lessons I have learned in my time in strength and conditioning because I looked back on it and I realized I'm 30 years old. I've been doing this for half of my life. I started doing this when I was 15 and I was coaching younger students in my high school. And I am 30 years old. This has been half of my life. What's up? I appreciate you guys all tuning in. So, in that time, in those 30 years, I've learned a lot of shit and a lot of shit that you guys as athletes are going to need to know or are going to be able to learn from. So we are going to get into that stuff today. Before we do, make sure that you are sharing the show with a friend, with a teammate, with a coach, with somebody who you know is going to need to hear this message, somebody who is in need of improving their strength and conditioning or their training habits in order to reach the next level in their sport. If you have tuned into the show before, you know the drill, you know why we're here, you know what we do. Our goal is to help athletes reach new levels in their sport, help athletes reach higher level versions of themselves to be able to build the dream career they're looking for in their sport. So let's get into it now. We are going to be talking about 3 lessons I have learned in my time in strength and conditioning, and we're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we're going to be talking about 3 lessons I've learned in my time in strength and conditioning. Now, why are we going to be talking about this today? Because, as I said right before starting the broadcast, I've been doing this for half my life now, which feels crazy because I'm 30 years old, and usually when people are 30, they haven't been doing the same thing for over half their life. But I've been doing this for half my life now. And in that time, I have learned a lot of stuff. I have made a lot of mistakes. I have messed a lot of things up. And in turn, I've learned a lot of things that can be delivered to you guys so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I have or that I've seen so many other athletes make over the last 15 years. So we're going to be digging into a couple of the mistakes that I've made in my career, and we are going to be digging into a lot of the things you need to know if you are trying to build your dream career in sport. Now, the #1 thing that I've learned in the last 15 years in strength and conditioning is that consistent is better than perfect. Now, what do I mean when I say that? I see so many athletes that are getting so concerned with, training the perfect way. So many athletes that are so concerned with, the perfect method to build power, the perfect method to improve their conditioning, that they get so caught up in trying to find the perfect thing to do that they end up not doing anything, or they end up not actually doing enough. And as a result, they're not getting results coming back to their sport because they're so focused on being perfect that they get so in their head that they end up not doing enough anyway. So yes, there's always things you can start doing to improve the training that you're doing. There's always things that you can do to optimize the work that you're doing in your sport. However, the struggle is what you can't do is worry about being perfect. Why? Because the perfect method doesn't exist. I know that sounds crazy to say, but the perfect method doesn't exist. Because you can develop the quote unquote perfect method to improve your conditioning, but every athlete is different. So if I am, a full-time athlete, I have no other job, all I need to focus on is training, and I'm using this perfect conditioning method, and I try to pass that off to an athlete that's working 10 hours a day outside and trying to build their athletic career on top of that, that same method isn't perfect for that other athlete because they've got a bunch of other shit going on in their life. Does that make sense? If you have other physical factors that happen in your life, then the same training method for you isn't going to work effectively for someone who is a full-time athlete, not having to focus on any other areas. So stop worrying about being perfect. Stop worrying about, the perfect methods, and just show the fuck up and start working. Show the fuck up and start being consistent, because if you're consistent, you're going to be able to improve. If you're consistent, you're going to be able to improve. Because if you're showing up consistently, that is step one, because it's impossible to develop the perfect method if you're not showing up consistently. So start showing up every day, start being consistent, start working on trying to improve. And that's how you're going to find your perfect method. If your focus is being perfect, you're going to burn yourself out trying to figure out what to do instead of just fucking doing something, and in turn, making the improvements you're looking for. Now, the number two thing that I've learned over the last 15 years in the world of strength and conditioning is that more does not equal better. More does not equal better. I speak to so many athletes every single day that send me, a training routine. They're saying, I'm lifting weights 6 times a week. I'm going for 5-kilometer runs 3 times a week. And then on top of that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. And they're just trying to do everything. And again, coming back to what we said with, not trying to be perfect and just being consistent, it's the same deal with this. Don't try to do everything. Try to do the right amount. Try to do enough. Because again, that sounds in today's world like a bit of a cop-out, saying just do enough. But you're training for a very specific competition. If you're an athlete out there, you're training likely for, well, if you're listening to this, likely for a fight, because most of the athletes I work with are combat sports athletes. So you've got to remember, if you're training for a 3-minute round fight, your competition is 9 minutes on a specific day. You don't have to put in 57 hours a week of training to prepare for a 9-minute fight. Not because you don't have to work hard, but because you're preparing for a 9-minute fight. The training that you do needs to reflect the needs that you have when you compete. And if you're working in a way that is trying to just do the most, trying to always do more, trying to always outwork everyone, you're not going to be working in a way that allows you to properly prepare for that 3-minute round fight. Now, I know a lot of people say, but the more you do, the more results you're going to be able to achieve, which again is not true. And the reason why that's not true is because burnout and overwhelm are very real things. Have you ever been training and started to feel like, whatever you do, even though you're doing so much, your training just keeps getting worse? Or, you're in sparring and you start noticing that beginner guys are starting to touch you up when they shouldn't. You're starting to get touched, you're starting to get hit, you're just having bad day after bad day after bad day. That is not because you suck at what you do. That is because your brain is burnt the fuck out. Let me repeat that one more time. If you are having repeated bad days in the gym, that is not because you suck at what you do. That is because your brain is burnt the fuck out. And so by trying to do more, you're actually having a negative impact on your central nervous system. And in turn, you are doing more damage than you are good. Now, this is not to say that you don't need to work hard, because I know that a lot of people, whenever I say that, immediately go to, this guy's telling us not to work hard. And that's not what I'm fucking doing. So shut the fuck up if that's what you're thinking. What I'm telling you is you need to find the balance between hard work and recovery, because if you are not recovering, you are not growing. If all you're ever doing is going balls to the wall 150%, trying to do everything and always trying to do more than everyone, you are going to burn yourself out. You are going to get hurt. And in turn, you're not going to see the results back in the sport. So stop focusing on doing more and start figuring out what it is you need to do in order to properly prepare for the competition at hand. Now, number 3, the final thing we are going to talk about today is ego is the enemy. Now, why do I say this? So over the last 15 years, as I've been in this industry for longer and longer, one thing I see all the time, guys, is athletes that are more focused on doing more than their competition than they are on doing the right things that is actually going to help them win. That, and the other way ego gets in the way, is athletes that are afraid to put themselves in bad positions. Oh, I don't want to spar with that guy because he's going to beat me. Oh, I don't want to do this drill first because, I'm afraid I don't know what I'm doing yet. Oh, I'm going to miss training today because, we're wrestling today and I just don't really want to wrestle. I'll come back when it's striking because that's what I like more. Every time you say something like that to yourself, every time you skip a practice because they're working on the things that you don't like, every time you avoid going to spar with somebody because you're afraid that they're going to make you look bad, every time you don't want to do a drill because you're afraid that you're not going to do it well, this is all letting your ego take charge of your training, and you're fucking up. Why? Because the goal of training is to improve. The goal of training is to get better. The goal of training is to help you succeed when you compete. So if all you're ever trying to do is train in a way that's going to make you look good, what you're doing is you're taking away massive amounts of opportunity that are going to help you succeed. Because if you are only ever looking good while you train, that means you're only ever training the shit that you're good at. And guess what an opponent's going to do? They're not going to say, hey, man, where do you want this fight to go? And we'll just keep it there. No, they're going to try to exploit your weaknesses. They're going to try to make you fight their fight. And if you have not properly prepared to fight their fight, as well as fight your own fight, now they're going to be able to dominate you in competition where it actually matters. And guys, this comes to all parts of training too. I see a lot of athletes that love to spend their time in the gym working on their skills. They love the grappling, they love the striking, they love all of that skill stuff because that's where they enjoy being. But then when it comes to the strength and conditioning gym, that's the stuff they skip out on because, I don't have time for it right now. Do you not have time for it right now, or do you not like it because you fucking suck at it? I know that sounds harsh, but do you not have time for it right now, or do you not like it because you fucking suck at it? Because if you are not doing strength and conditioning, if you are not lifting weights, getting stronger, working on your ability to maintain pace for the duration of your fight, guess what? You're going to run into an opponent someday soon that has all the skills that you have, but is also stronger than you, also faster than you, also can push a pace for longer than you, and you're going to fucking lose. And you're not going to lose because you don't have time for strength and conditioning right now. You're going to lose because you didn't prioritize your fucking weaknesses and you chose to spend your time doing the shit you're good at instead of spending your time bulletproofing the weaknesses on top of improving your skills and actually setting yourself up for fucking success. You are the one who makes the choices. You are the one who sets your priorities. And if you set them in the wrong place, you are setting yourself up for failure. If you set your priorities in a way and you set your training times in a way to focus on all the things you're good at and not spend time building up your weaknesses and building up your base as a whole, that might hold you for right now. That might hold you for a good period of time, but that is not going to last forever. If your ego is dictating where you're spending your time, if your focus is, I want to spend my time doing these things because these things are more fun and I enjoy them or I'm good at them or whatever, that might hold you for right now. But guess what? Unless your goal is to be exactly where you're at right now, you're fucking up. Training is not designed to make you look good. Training is not designed to always make you feel good. Training is designed to help you improve. And if you are not doing the shit you suck at, you're not going to improve at the same rate. So, as a quick recap, number one, consistent is better than perfect. Stop trying to find the perfect methods to improve at everything and start just showing the fuck up and putting the work in and working on optimizing it as you go. Number two, more does not equal better. Stop trying to just focus on doing more than everybody else and start focusing on what you're doing and the results that those things are actually going to get you, and then continuing to add more on top of that. More of the wrong shit doesn't help you. More of the right shit helps you. Number three, and this one, guys, is so important. Ego is the enemy. Stop worrying about looking good. Stop worrying about just doing the things you enjoy and start focusing on doing the shit you need to do that is actually going to help you improve. If you can follow these three lessons and you can take that into your training, I guarantee you are going to start to see more success as you compete. And in turn, you are going to start building that dream career in your sport that you're after. So that is it. That is all. I appreciate you for taking the time. Appreciate you for tuning in, whether you're here live or whether you're back on the replay. Thank you all for taking the time. And as always, my one ask of you is share this show around with a friend, with a coach, with a teammate, with someone who is going to need to hear this message and someone who is going to benefit from these 3 lessons. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again.